Welcome to the Wellness for Women show, where we talk about life, weight loss and everything in between. I'm Faye Caseman, founder of the AAA Way Life and Weight Loss Programme, and I'm here to help you put together the pieces of life and weight loss for one last time. This is an episode of the Wellness for Women show, filmed live in the free Facebook group. So, what am I going to talk about today? What is going on? So, moving into this week's show. So, firstly, I want to start with a little bit of a trigger warning. I am going to talk about self-image and weight loss. So if you are affected by this in any way, shape or form, I would always recommend that in anything that I talk about, really, use your self-judgment. And if you are in need of any support, then, consider whether it's appropriate that you go to a physician or a specialist, something like that. But obviously, if we're not talking that kind of serious level, then I'll listen on in. So ultimately, I've been thinking a lot. I think it's the start of Love Island, actually, that's set me off a bit on this one. I don't know whether you love it or hate it. It's not something that I've ever watched. I have no desire to see males or females necessarily prancing about in their bikinis. And it got me thinking about how those types of programs could impact everybody, really, sort of whether there's subtle messaging in those kind of things that you should look these certain ways or something like that. And again, obviously there's been quite a lot of press over the years with regards to how people feel about themselves on these programs, and so again, a lot of musings going on from me, really. But ultimately there is a lot of messaging out there. Society and the media, it tells us that in order to be happy and successful, we need to have the perfect body. The diet industry preys on our insecurities, telling us that if we buy their products and follow their plans, then we will finally be happy and thin. But that's not necessarily really the whole truth, is it? At the end of the day, you can be healthy at every size. You can be successful no matter what your body size or type, and you can be happy. And so in today's show, I want to talk a little bit about health, body image, and also about Jane, my character Jane. So if you want access to the show notes, leave me a hashtag show notes, and I will drop you out the show notes and a link to the video. I can see Mallory's watching. Hey Mallory, we've not caught up for a while. Lovely to see you, lovely. So who am I? Always a good question. Always makes me want to break into song, like a bit of Les Mis, and then start saying that I'm Jean Valjean. Very bad, I know. I am Faye Caseman. I'm not Jean Valjean. I'm Faye Caseman, creator of the AAA Way Weight Loss Programme, where I want to help you try and find your own path to sustainable weight loss without the diets that can leave you feel restricted, but more importantly in today's context, whilst working on self-love. And so if you want to know more about that, then leave me a hashtag freedom and I will shoot you the deets for that. So does it sound odd? Let me know in the chat. Let's open a discussion on this. Does it sound odd coming from a weight loss coach that I believe in health at every size? Because I know that there's a lot of weight loss coaches out there who probably wouldn't say that. So let me know. Ultimately, I have zero judgment with regards to anybody's body or size. As long as you are happy, healthy, mentally and physically, as best you can be, that is all I want for you. If, however, you want to occupy a smaller body, though, this is where I come in. I just want you to do that in a way that is supportive, like say mentally, physically, and something that you can sustain long term, which is why I created my program, and why I quite actively talk about ditching the traditional diet methods and not particularly liking the diet industry fat cats, because I'm not sure that they necessarily always have best interests of everybody at heart. Hey Stacey, thanks for watching. So since I started my weight loss coaching, I've noticed that when I tell people that I'm a weight loss coach, they often feel compelled to tell me something about their weight, food or diet. And sort of when I'm out with meals with people, it's kind of like this sort of edging, like I'm looking, which I'm not. I'm literally just hoofing down my own meal. But what it reminds me of really is just how prevalent the message is, even if I'm not deliberately doing that, just the fact that we're talking about it kind of brings it up for people, and I think there's a lot of messaging out there about weight, size and body image, and it's not it's not necessarily from people who are actively working on weight loss. I think, again, you might be somebody who's not working on weight loss, but again, your body image, is still something that you may or may not have problems with. Again, it's something that is, I think, universal. I don't think there are many people who genuinely love their body exactly how it is. I think most of us will think that we've got something or other that we would prefer was different and would change. And so, like I say, around some kind of story with regards to their body, their food, their size, their weight or looks, and how it can impact, like I say, everybody of every shape and every size. At the end of the day, we are not clones. We are not supposed to look the same or have the same body size, but yet most of us probably have some kind of preconception, and I'd be interested as to whether that was similar really as to what, the perfect body would be. Again, we grew up with Barbie dolls and Cindy dolls, and so again, you're supposed to be long-legged, big-boobed, all these kind of things, again, it comes a lot from the media, which has changed throughout the years with the various fashion icons of the day, right? Whether you had your Marilyn Monroe's, now we've probably got like Kardashian style body, with an hourglass figure, again, boobs and butt and lips. But these aren't necessarily people who have atypical bodies or lives. Let's face it, us ladies who, work, have families, don't have $1 million, are just living our normal lives, right? And this is why Jane is so important. So who is Jane? Jane is a character I post about every Friday. I'm not sure if you've seen any of the posts. Let me know in the chat if you have. And if you see a post of her, give her a thumbs up. She's the stick lady. Be like Jane. And why I created Jane, or put Jane out there, is that she's intended to be a collection of examples from real life people with real lives. She's just a normal woman living a normal life, who just happens to want to occupy a smaller body and talk about weight loss, mindfulness, and anything else that I typically bang on about. But the purpose behind her message really is that you don't have to be perfect. You are, you can be happy and successful just as you are. She's there to remind you that it's okay to be different, to carve your own path, to design who you want to be, for you and nobody else at the end of the day. And this is what I'm hoping and trying to bring from Jane through her stories. It's always helpful to talk about our experience. This is why, I wanted to create a membership when I started weight loss coaching. I do offer one-to-one coaching, but that still has the backing of the community. If you take my one-to-one coaching, you get access to the AAA weight loss program and the community. And the reason for that is because the community is also critical. It's critical to talk about your journey, what you're going through, so that we can all effectively sit around the same campfire and work on things together. That having been said, it is also often the case that we can compare ourselves to others and strive for unrealistic standards of perfection that's not only potentially unattainable, but also unnecessary. So again, I talked about having realistic expectations of ourselves. And this, I think, closely links with self-image, our relationship to ourselves, and also our body. So did you know, I was meant to put my little banner up. There we go. Did you know there are, as you would expect, a ton of studies out there with regards body image? I bet you knew that. And each of them shows how prevalent this is an issue. And I came across a survey done by Good Housekeeping. So it may not be a scientific study, but I'm going to go with it because I think Jane may have likely read a magazine or two in her time. And I'm convinced from when I was reading that it was quite indicative. But of course, anything in this world of misinformation, always do your own research. That's all I can say. But they surveyed 4,250 people, and these were the facts that they reported. They said that 88% of those people said that their body image was moderately important to them. 88 people effectively were thinking about their bodies in some way, shape or form. Hey Rachel, thanks for joining. 74% of people had a list of good or bad foods. Now again, I challenged the food police in my program. This is one of the steps of intuitive eating. We don't have bad or good or bad foods. We just have food, because it makes huge difference to your weight loss and mentality as well. Your diet mentality needs to just go. 60% of people said that they felt the way that they felt about themselves was influenced by their weight. 60% of people. And they reported also some alarming statistics with regards to the lengths that people would go to in order to lose weight, and how disordered some of those things were. You know, like people would be prepared to shave time off of their life in order to lose their weight. Plus there was some statistics in there about the impact that dieting around children can have, which is something that's also really quite close to my heart that I don't talk about a lot. What I really loved about the article though was that it was anti-diet and advocates intuitive eating, which ultimately is my jam. So yeah, I thought that they were really quite some interesting statistics to see, because again, Jane is just you and I. It's just normal people, your general Janes and Joes on the street. And so, you know, we're all potentially going through this to some degree or another, obviously some more than others. So what's the impact of having poor body image? So again, you probably know all of this yourself, but I'm going over it because I was coming across it and it was quite interesting. You know, at the end of the day, it's a personal issue. So how it shows up in, you know, for one person will be different for the other. You know, so it will be about, you know, impacting your relationship with yourself. It can also have an impact on, you know, you just low self-esteem, negative view of yourself, unhealthy obsessions with weight and food, leading to disordered eating habits, impact your social situations, your relationships, your decision making, and just generally overall poorer mental and physical health sometimes if it's not worked on actively. So what about health at every size? I was talking about that earlier. So this to me is where health at every size can come into it. The concept of it is that, like I say, it's to me one that's close to my heart. I think, you know, because of the fact that I really do want to live my life being as authentic as I can do, being as kind to myself as I can be. And I just want everybody to have the tools in their toolbox to be able to do that, which is a big part of my course. And so it's based on the idea that you can be happy and healthy at any size, no matter what your weight or size. And this message is so important, especially given, like I say, the prevalent messaging out there about weight and body image. And one of the main tenets of health at every size is that you should focus, if anything, on being healthy rather than losing weight. It means looking to make choices that will improve your overall health rather than choices that are just based on the number of the scale. So this is why in the AAA Weigh Life and Weight Loss program, although you can weigh, it is not essential. You know, we work on our relationship with the scale so that we can start to see it just as the tool that it is, really, just as a little piece of information. It's not the be all and end all of what we do in there. And true intuitive eating would actually reject any kind of weighing, measuring or tracking. And so, you know, I'm all for that if that's what you want to work on. I've done it myself. I had a No Way May a few years ago, and I just focused on my process and what I was doing. And it was really insightful. But true, you know, so that you can really just focus on your relationship with yourself, so that you have that healthier relationship with yourself, with food, your body. So let's say in my book, there isn't anything wrong with particularly gathering statistics. It's how you use them that's key. So if you're using them in a punitive way to beat yourself up, so if it's a case of hopping on the scale and then it's like, oh my God, I've you know, I'm this, I'm that, I'm so bad, I didn't stick to my plan. You know, those are all the things that we work on with the mind injury part of my course. You know, it's all about looking at neutralizing those thoughts, because ultimately they don't serve you or your weight loss. And that's where you get a healthier approach. And as I've said before, you know, the AAA way is all about looking at yourself as a whole human being. It's not just about what you eat or how you look. You know, self-love and compassion is a huge area of what I teach and encourage. And this is what aids your sustainability in your journey at the end of the day. And so there's a self-love mini course in there, for example. So there's some tools in there to help people with body image issues if that's something that they're going through. And one thing that my mentor encouraged and I advocate too is that, like I say, you learn to love yourself at every size of your journey. And if you don't do that work, the danger is that when you get to goal, you're still the same person with the same insecurities. You just happen to be in a smaller body. And I would much rather that you learn to love and accept yourself now and work on the health part from a position of love rather than fear, really. You know, because I have seen people who have lost their weight, you know, but then they are kind of fearful that it's all going to go because didn't love themselves at those other stages, basically, and so they've still got those insecurities. So you might say, but don't I need some kind of fear in order to motivate me? You know, so this is certainly something that I've heard from people that I've coached in the past. You know, I've seen people posting about it. There's a general trend out there, potentially due to diet messaging over the years, that you have to be in some kind of state of fear to lose weight. You know, again, the typical when we've got weight loss mentality going on, you know, the brain is full of shoulds and musts, and these are fear-based rules ultimately. But it's not true. It's so not true. And I think this also has perpetuated the issue with body image, as it leads to self-judgment and loathing, which can suck. And so whether you are judging your body, judging your food, whatever it is that you're judging, because we all judge at the end of the day, but the more that you feed that judge, the more that it will come out, and the more that judge will then show up in every area of your life. So it's about tackling these saboteurs. I'm actually just starting a course, called Positive Intelligence. And this is all about your saboteurs. I'm going to eventually I'll become certified in it, but it's something that I can practice in whilst I'm training. And it's all about identifying your saboteurs, the judge being your most prevalent one, and then you have various other ones. And again, this is where it shows up for you in life and in weight loss. I'm going to say it's easy to think that you need to be at your wits' ends and at rock bottom before you take any action, but it's not the case. It's never too late, and it's never too early to start to make changes in your life. And when you can make changes from a place of love, they are so much more sustainable because you're coming from a place of self-care and not self-loathing. If making decisions based on fear and restriction worked, you wouldn't have to repeat the diets. You wouldn't be you'd be doing the work no matter what, and you'd potentially be at goal. You know, being hard on yourself, coming at weight loss through fear and anything where it involves restriction and deprecation, that's where weight loss gets hard. It's where it creates the suffering. And so this is why I don't advocate the the eating of any type of food. We don't count calories, we don't count points, anything like that. What I do is I help you to build your own plan based on what it is that you want and like to do ultimately. You know, because that's more sustainable, isn't it? It's going to feel lighter because you're enjoying the process. And this is why I want people to find joy in the process. How do you find joy in the process? You do things that you want to do. So how does this fit with self-image? Well, as someone who has dieted or is dieting, and as someone who wants to occupy a smaller body, your judgment around food, your life, yourself, all intertwined. And what would, think to yourself, what would life be like if you could find ways to celebrate your body, your life, your relationship with food instead? How much easier, how much lighter would you feel inside? And if you feel lighter inside, you're going to be making better decisions for yourself and in your life and in your weight loss. And so if you're currently on a weight loss journey and you're not finding it fun, sustainable and easy, let's explore that. Let's really deep dive into that. Because once you start to embrace the process and you do all this because you want it for you, your self-view will change. And when you start to see how you show up for yourself and your dreams daily through having a regular practice, it's when you can step into your personal power. And once you step into your personal power, your self-image completely changes. So I want to go into a story of Jane. So Jane felt like she was at rock bottom. She loathed looking at herself in the mirror. She wished she was thin. If only she was thin and pretty, life would be so good. Life would be so easy. She could go anywhere, be anything she wanted to be. She'd tried every single diet going and nothing worked long term for her. She was miserable and she felt stuck. She felt worthless. She didn't want to feel this way. She hated feeling this way. She hated herself for how she'd become. She felt pathetic for not being able to stop it or sort it sooner. Jane felt like she had so far to go, and what was the point, because she'd just fail again anyway. One day, Jane was talking to her friend, though. She was saying about how crappy she felt. And it took a lot for Jane to have these types of conversations, as she typically buried all of this and all of her thoughts and feelings. Jane's friend was very supportive and was telling her all about her own struggles and her own experiences of self-image. And Jane was shook. She was shook. Her friend always seemed so confident. She seemed like she'd always got it together. She'd have never guessed in a million years that she had body image issues too, especially because she'd recently lost a lot of weight. And her friend explained how she had lost her weight and how the method she used helped her with her self-image, and how she felt so much more empowered. Rather than picking a method that just knocked her down time and time again, she picked a method that she wanted to do and enjoyed, and worked on her whole self, mind, body and soul. And she said how she still has times where she doubts herself. She still times when she doesn't like what she sees when she looks in the mirror. She is human after all, and that is okay. But she now has a whole load of other tools in her toolbox to handle those times, and so they are less frequent and less severe with the more practice she takes. And finally, Jane felt renewed hope. She realised that maybe there was a way that she'd not tried before, and that this could be the answer. So, final thoughts. So we all have different journeys when it comes to our relationship with food, ourself, our bodies, our lives. Some of us have battled for years with weight gain, dieting and negative self-talk. I know I certainly did. For others, the journey may just be beginning. But no matter where you are on your path, know that you are not alone. There is always hope, and there is always a way to turn it around. And so if you're struggling with your weight and your body, I encourage you to reach out for help. There are many resources available to you, counsellors, nutritionists, support groups, and of course, myself and the AAA Way. You don't have to do it alone. Help is available. And ultimately, you are worth it, and you have got this, no matter what you choose to do. So if you found the video useful, give it a thumbs up, leave me any comments, leave me any questions. I'll come back to them and try and help you. If you want to make sure that you never miss a live, pop over to the website. Thanks for listening. And don't forget, if you want to boost your life and weight loss the AAA way, check out the relevant links for today's show in the description. Speak soon.